All right, everybody. Today's recording is going to go over how to put together an out-of-state target list. So if you haven't already watched the recording that I did on in-state target list schools and how to go through the process of looking schools that are in-state, would definitely recommend that or getting your hands on that one. But today I'm going to talk about how to put together schools that are out-of-state onto a target list. So this is a difficult thing, especially as the 2020 grad. You're going into a summer where you're going to be playing summer baseball. There's going to be camps and events to go to, and a lot of kids look out of state and say, hey, I want to go somewhere warm. I want to go somewhere out of state. I want to get away from home. It's not always as easy as that. The schools that are going to have the most access to you and you're going to have the most access to them when you're playing this summer, and the ones that are most likely to recruit somebody from your home state are going to be in-state schools and maybe from some of the surrounding states. So you have to be smart when you pick and choose your spots on schools that you really want to target that are out of state. So today I'm going to take you through how to go about that research process, give you the the tools that you need, the resources that you need to get started on that. So the realities of out-of-state recruiting, like I said before, most rosters, when you look at them, are going to be in-state players, regardless of division level, regardless of state. You're going to see a lot of kids that are from that state on that roster. Some coaches are willing to expand to some of the surrounding states. You may see a few guys from those surrounding states, and there are very few programs that recruit nationally. They're usually the top 5 to 10% on the baseball side of things and the top 5 to 10% on the academic side of things, where they have to recruit from out of state sometimes to get those players that qualify better for their programs, whether it is for baseball or it is for school. So when you are looking at schools that are out of state, here's the reality. You have to be better than what they recruit in their own state. So if you're looking at these very competitive states like Florida, like Texas, like California, there's a lot of good baseball talent in those states. So you have to be better than what they are looking at every day and what they see in their own backyard. So keep that in mind. You may even have to look at division levels that are not quite as where you are where you would be in state. So if you're going somewhere warmer, you're going somewhere south, you're going somewhere more competitive, you have to be better than what they're already looking at in their own state. So when you do pick schools out of state, you have to pick and choose your spots. The majority of your target list should be from your home state and surrounding state schools. You can't just start throwing darts all over the board and hoping that something sticks. You can't just rely on who's reaching out to you. You have to have a plan on, if I'm going to go out of state and look for schools, I know what I'm looking for in terms of major. I know what I'm looking for in terms of setting and size and cost, all those things. So be willing to look at all division levels. Don't throw darts. Don't just pick and choose schools based on who plays on TV or who you know that went there or anything like that. You have to have a reason why you are picking and choosing that specific school. So in the previous recording I sent over, the match analysis page is going to be super important. It gives you a feel for where you're at based on what they're looking for athletically. It gives you a feel for what you bring to the table academically and where that fits with their academic standards. So I'll go in and show you when we get in here the match analysis page. Utilize this, guys. This is still super important when you're looking at out-of-state schools, so make sure you're checking the match analysis with each school as well. And make sure that you have several tabs open. So your NCSA profile, Google Maps, you can see how far away these schools are and what cities they're close to. Niche.com for your academic research and digging a little bit deeper into the schools. And then make sure you have an open page so that you can research the programs and the rosters and the schedules and all those things as well. So I'm going to open up and share my screen and show you guys how I would go about this if I were a junior in high school coming up on that summer before senior year and picking and choosing my spots on schools that I am going to target going into the summer. So this is a demo account based on where I was as a junior. I played my college baseball at Ohio State, so I was a preferred walk-on. Really, my sweet spot was probably smaller Division I schools, Division II schools, Division III schools. I had pretty good grades, but not exceptional grades and test scores. So my scope was going to be looking for schools that were smaller Division I, Division II, strong academic Division III schools that were in Ohio, maybe some of the surrounding states. And yeah, I wanted to go somewhere warmer too. So I'll show you how I would have gone about this. Now, again, you're going to see the tabs that I have open here. I have Google Maps open so that I can go in and do my research from where I grew up. I've got my NCSA profile pulled up as well so that I can go into that Find Colleges tab and start researching my schools there. I have niche.com open so that I can research the individual schools that I want to check out and get a feel for grades, test scores, reviews, all those things. And then lastly, I have a Google tab open so that I can go and research the individual programs as well. So I'm going to take you through what I would do. So I personally would start going into NCSA. I was from Ohio, so I would put in the surrounding states around Ohio. And I'm looking for schools that are in that wheelhouse of what I'm looking for academically across all division levels. Now, if I was most people, I would look at four-year schools that are in state, and I would focus in on junior colleges that are in state. If you want to expand out of state, focus on four-year schools first. Most junior colleges are very heavily recruiting kids that are in state because they are state schools and they are more affordable with that in-state tuition in most cases. So I'm going to look at four-year schools at the Division I, Division II, and the NAIA level along with Division III. My grades were pretty good, but not great. So I would be looking for selective and somewhat selective. And my major was under communications. So I was looking to get into either communications or broadcast journalism. So I went in and put all those filters in. I put in the surrounding states, Michigan, Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. So I'm looking for surrounding states. I put my major in, I put the selectivity in, and I go in and generate a list. So again, if you haven't seen this page before, you're going to be able to sort alphabetically by the selectivity of the baseball program, selectivity of the school, division level, cost, enrollment, match percentage, all those things are here. So I'm going to sort by match level because I want to know the schools that I have the highest match percentage with based on where I am academically, where I am baseball-wise, so that I know that the schools that I'm looking at are hopefully the strongest fits for me. So let's take a look at the first one at the top there, Lawrence Tech in Southfield, Michigan. So my process would be as follows. I'm going to click on this match analysis page so that I can see where I stand with the school. So you can see I'm right at that time in junior year in high school, right exactly in that wheelhouse of what they were looking for. So I'm in that green spot and blue spot overlapping. You can see where I am academically. I'm on the high end of what they're looking for with GPA, kind of right in the middle with SAT, on the high end with ACT. So there's a lot of green on this page, and that's why you see this 96% match percentage. That's a good thing. The next thing I'm going to do is highlight the school itself, put it into Google Maps, see how far away it is from home. That was kind of a big deal for me. So it's 2.5 hours away. It's a little bit north of Detroit, so it's pretty close to a decent-sized city. 2.5 hours away would definitely be a comfortable distance from home. That checks out. That makes sense for me. Then I'm going to go into niche.com. I'm going to put the school in there. I'm going to do my research on the individual school itself, see where they check out as far as some of the grades that they have and their rating system, getting a feel for the rankings that they have on some of these lists, their admissions process, their acceptance rate, their ACT and SAT range, all that stuff is here. You scroll down further, you get a feel for costs, you get a feel for academics, the majors that they offer. So I would scroll through and make sure that they offer my major. I know that they do. Student size, campus life, reviews, a lot of good information on this niche.com page. So that would check out for me as well. Then I would go in and check out the baseball side of things. So Lawrence Tech University base would be what I would put into a search engine. So what I'm looking to do is pull up their baseball page and specifically pull up their roster. This is one of the big jumping points for me. Do they recruit out of state? And as a bonus, do they recruit guys from my state? So as I scroll through the roster, obviously I'm going to see a lot of kids from Michigan here. There's some kids from Canada even. But I did see some kids towards the top that were from Ohio. So that's a good thing. Now, you see one or two kids from Ohio, that's a good thing. You see 9 or 10 or 12 kids, and there's a couple more down here, that's even better. But the key is, do they recruit out of state? Do they recruit my state? I'm probably also going to go in and look at some of the catchers and see what size they are. There's a catcher, 5'11", 180. There's a catcher, 5'11", 180. Another catcher, 6'2", 205, 6'2", 205, 6'1", 205. So they're not recruiting smaller guys. They're looking for the bigger, stronger guys. And I, wasn't quite there at that point, but that would still fall into the range of 5'11", 180. That was about where I was. So I know they're not looking for guys that at least are 6'5", and 205 as a catcher. All important stuff when you're researching the school. I'm probably also going to check out the schedule. So for me coming from the north, I want to know, you guys go south. Do you guys go somewhere for spring break? Looks like they're going to Jimmy John's Field, which I think is their home field, so this is their fall schedule. But let's look at the spring. So they're staying in Ohio. First game of the year, Ohio, Illinois. Then they go to Florida for a spring break trip. That's cool. That's definitely appealing to somebody like me. I want to get somewhere a little bit warmer for a week or two and get away on spring break. So most of the, you can check out their schedules, see who they play, see some of the schools that are close to home. So Lima would be close to home. So I'm playing fairly regional here. This school checks out for me, guys. It fits what I'm looking for academically. It fits what I'm looking for baseball-wise. They recruit my home state. So I'm going to add that to my list of favorites. So moving down, just to give you a couple more examples of schools that I will take a look at. Trine University, which is not too far away from me. Check out the match analysis. Everything seems to be good. The fact that I'm a little bit above what they're looking for is a positive thing. It means that I might be a stronger player than what they typically recruit, which is fine. I want to get some possibilities. My GPA is a little bit higher than what they typically recruit. My test scores are on the high end. This is all okay. So 90% match percentage, which is good. So I highlight Trine University, put it into Google Maps. Half hours away from home. That makes sense. Put it into niche and do my research there. Put it into a Google search and do my research there on the roster. So I'm looking through their 2018 roster. Ohio, 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 Ohio. Quite a few guys from Ohio. Mostly guys from Indiana and surrounding states, just like we talked about earlier. So this one seems to check out too. I would do my research on niche and do some double checking there. 2.5 hours away from home. Add it to my list of favorites. Some other examples. Let's say Washington and Jefferson in Washington, PA. Match analysis, again, a lot of green overlapping blue. That's what we want to see. A lot of green check marks. That's what we want to see. 88% match. That's what we want to see. Go into niche, put it in there. Hang on one second for me. Washington and Jefferson. Pull up their baseball roster, 2019 roster. And again, I'm going through a little bit faster. I showed you guys with Lawrence Tech. But there's quite a few guys from Ohio on this roster, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, a lot of diversity here, which is good. So I'm going to add that one too for sure. So I'm starting to build this list of schools, and you can take your time going through each of these schools. You may be more familiar with others, but it gives you a feel for how to research these schools and pick and choose the right spots on this target list. Now, let's go back to the Find Colleges tab, and I'm going to say I want to take some shots in some of those warmer weather states. I want to see what schools might be out there that would be possibilities. So for me, that would be Tennessee, the Carolinas, Georgia, and Florida. So we'll go in and do the same thing. Now, we talked about when you go south, you have to be smart. You have to pick and choose your spots. Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA schools. For me, selective and somewhat selective. For me, liberal arts, communications, broadcast journalism. I go in and generate my search. So again, it'll pull up that list for me of all those schools that fall into that range. This should be a pretty decent sized list since we're looking at several different states. That's 107 schools. Very big list. Now you can go in and put in, urban settings, rural settings, whatever you want as well. But I think the easiest thing, because you're not going to be as familiar, would be to go straight to the match level. So the school at the top of the list there for me is Oglethorpe in Atlanta, Georgia. So bigger city was appealing to me. I ended up at Ohio State, bigger city, bigger setting, selective academically, which is good. Let's check out the match analysis. So again, blue overlapping the green, falling right in the blue area, falling right in the blue area. A lot of green check marks, 89% match percentage. These are all positive things. So now I'm going to take Oglethorpe, go through my process, put it into the search, put it into Google Maps, 9.5 hours away from home. Now we are getting further away from home. I know it's going to be in Atlanta, which is a bigger city, which is fine by me. I wanted that bigger city feel. You may not want that bigger city feel. I would put it into niche. And then I would put it into my Google search, pull up their roster, see what it looks like. When you go further and further away from home, guys, you are going to see fewer and fewer guys from your home state. So here we have Georgia, Texas, North Carolina, Florida, some Illinois, Indiana, nobody from Ohio. So it doesn't mean that I completely rule it out just because there's nobody from Ohio. I do see some guys that are somewhat from the Midwest, but when you see the overwhelming majority is from Georgia and the surrounding states, you know it's going to be an uphill battle. So this one would be one where I would say, okay, it fits what I'm looking for academically. It's in the bigger city. I can try to get some communication going with this coach, but before I jump and go to a camp or just, start trying to follow these coaches around, I need to get that communication going. I will definitely go back and make it a favorite, but it's not one of those schools that I'm like, man, that is really, going to be a destination for me. I've got to do some work to get in front of those coaches because they are 9.5 hours away from home and they don't recruit from my home state. Elon, Division I school. Okay, stronger academic Division I. It's in North Carolina, which is obviously appealing. Want to go a little bit warmer. 8 hours away from home, pretty close to Raleigh, pretty close to Winston-Salem, not too far away from Charlotte. Okay, that checks out. I would put it into niche and do my research there. I would put their baseball roster into a search engine. So you see the process here. You have your tabs open and you can do a lot of this research all at once with these individual schools. So I pull up their roster, I do my research on the program, I see kids from Rhode Island, I see kids from Georgia, I see kids from Maryland, there's a kid from Ohio, some more North Carolina. So again, North Carolina, East Coast, surrounding states, but I saw a kid from Colorado, I saw a kid from Rhode Island. This is a possibility, maybe. I saw a kid from Ohio, Indiana, certainly a possibility. Now, I go into the match analysis, and here's where I see. This is a Division I school in the South. I am not on the same page as far as what they are going to be looking for right now with baseball. So this would be something that, even though that match percentage is a little bit higher, that's probably based on academics. So I am a little bit short of what they're looking for on the baseball side of things. And it says right here, this is a reach for you athletically, and it is a match for you academically. So this would be one of those schools that I say, okay, I'm going to add it to my list, but this is probably a reach school for me, and I need to understand that. So you go through that process, and you see that short on the baseball side of things, you have to be smart about this stuff. Let's say I wanted to take a look at a couple schools in Florida. So, for instance, let's take a look at a place like Eckerd, a Division II school. Now, I'm in one of those baseball powerhouse states. I'm in Florida, Texas, California, Arizona, very strong baseball states. Checking out the match analysis. Kind of on the lower end of what they're looking for with baseball, but not completely out of the equation. GPA, grades, everything checks out. Okay, that makes sense. 83% match level, which is good. I would pull it up on niche. I would put it into, if I can get it on here, Google Maps. 16 hours away from home. So I'm not going home for the weekend when my roommate's on my nerves or I need to get my laundry done. This is a big boy destination. So a little bit further away than Atlanta, but let's go check it out just the same. Eckerd College baseball roster, into the search engine. Pull up the roster. Let's see what we've got. Now my guess is we're going to see a lot of kids from Florida. I'm in Florida. So I've got Florida, Connecticut. One kid from Michigan, but he went to IMG Academy, which is in Florida. A couple of kids from New York, Connecticut. Nobody from Ohio. So the majority of these kids are going to be from Florida, and the majority of these kids are coming from the high school level. I would do my research on the program, and I would say, okay, this makes sense academically, but again, it's probably a little bit of a reach for me. The geography and the dynamics of the program are a little bit of a stretch, so I'll favorite it so that I can go back and take a look at it. But it is a little bit out of my wheelhouse in terms of being what they are typically recruiting. Let's try another school in Florida. Let's say Rollins in Winter Park. So I'll go through my process again, put it into the map. I know it's going to be a little bit further away again. 16 hours away from home. I would put it into niche to do my research there. I would put it into my Google search to do my research there. And I see again, New York, Florida. There's one kid from high school in Ohio. That's a positive thing. But a lot of Florida, a lot of Southeast, a lot of surrounding states. You get a couple of kids over here that have transferred in from pretty major Division I schools, so you know they're getting some pretty high-quality guys. I would go back, do my match analysis again. Again, a little bit of a reach. athletically. Even though it's a Division II school, it's in a very, very strong baseball state. So I'm a little short of what they're looking for on the baseball side. Academically, again, a good match, a lot of green check marks there, but it says right here at the top, this is a reach for me athletically. So I know they recruit one or two guys from my area, but mostly kids from Florida. It's a little bit of a stretch for me baseball-wise. Again, I can add this to my list, but I can't just start piling on a bunch of these schools. So I did pick and choose my spots with some of these schools that are out of state. I'm definitely going to work to get some communication, but you're going to go back and see on this My Colleges tab, under my favorites, that the majority of these schools that I have on my target list are going to be from Ohio. So if I've done this right, I've added my out-of-state schools to what I would already have here with my in-state schools. I do have some schools with higher match percentages, but I've done my research. So I've got 7 out-of-state schools that I've researched that I know offer my major, that I know to a certain extent recruit either in my state or that I'm taking a little bit of a gamble that they don't recruit in my state, that I would add them to my list. I've researched how far away they are from home. I've done my research on niche, and I've done my research on their baseball program. This is how it has to go, guys. This is how it has to go. So big keys again. Remember what we talked about at the beginning. If I can get it to go back there. The realities are most of these schools are going to recruit in-state and the surrounding states. When you pick and choose your spots, make sure you are putting in the filters and sticking to your guns on what you're looking for with the distance from home, the size of the school, the majors, the selectivity, and be willing to look at all division levels. That list that I put together had Division II, Division I, Division III, and NAIA schools on it. So be smart about how you pick and choose your spots with these schools. You're going to have to work to get in front of them at some point this summer, so communication is going to be a key. But hopefully that helped you with picking and choosing your own spots on how to get in front of these coaches and how to build a list of target schools heading into the summer.